Hello and welcome to the launch of this year's Brighton Festival, taking place across the region from Saturday the 6th of May. I'm Andrew Comben, Chief Executive of Brighton Dome and Brighton Festival, and I'm excited to be with you to share highlights from this year's programme. Last year we were delighted that Brighton Festival started the journey back to the scale of festival we enjoyed before the pandemic. With 150 events over 3 weeks, the festival reached an audience of more than 100,000 people. A third were attending for the first time, and we were privileged to discover that many regular attenders chose last year's festival as the moment to reconnect with live performances. I believe Brighton and Hove is a city that can lead the way in sustainable, healthy recovery from the pandemic and the economic and social shocks that have followed it. Brighton Festival is a key part of that recovery, helping to connect communities and to catalyse the enormous benefits that come from visitors and residents coming together to enjoy art, culture and all that our great city has to offer. This year we are thrilled to welcome Nabihah Iqbal, the phenomenal musician, DJ, broadcaster and tireless collaborator as guest director of Brighton Festival. Together with some remarkable artists and thinkers, she has curated a festival that invites everyone to gather round, to come together and use these 3 weeks in May to stop, recalibrate and be transported. Here she is, talking about the inspiration behind this year's festival.
Come closer, a little nearer, gather round. Hello, my name is Nabihah Iqbal and I'm a musician, DJ, producer and broadcaster from London, and I'm really excited to be the guest director for Brighton Festival 2023. Music's always been my absolute favourite thing ever since my earliest memories of being really obsessed with Michael Jackson. And growing up I always played a lot of instruments and went to music school, and then as I got older started going to loads of gigs every weekend basically, and then just learning how to DJ and produce music and organising parties with my friends. But I never imagined that I'd be able to do music as a full-time career, because I actually trained to be a barrister. But then the music side of things just started pulling me in that direction. So then I just thought I should go with the flow because it was my dream, and so far so good. Growing up, I learned instruments in the Western classical tradition like the flute and the piano, and then started learning jazz guitar and started listening to more different types of music. As a teenager, I was really into punk and metal, and I used to go to gigs every weekend. And then when I went to university, I actually studied my undergraduate degree in ethnomusicology, and that was a really eye-opening experience for me because it was the first time I was listening to so many different musics from different cultures all around the world, and some of that music didn't even sound musical to a Western trained ear. But it really opened me up to thinking about what music means to different people in different cultures, and how, even though we might be totally removed from the context, there's still a lot that we can appreciate about it, and we can still feel like the beauty and the emotion in all of those different types of sounds. I first started coming to Brighton as a teenager, usually to come and see gigs here that I couldn't get tickets for in London or something like that, and I made loads of really good friends here, and we always used to come down on the bus or the train for weekend trips. So a lot of my teenage musical memories are really entrenched with the city of Brighton, and I feel like just in terms of youth culture as well, it's a very significant place, not only in the UK but even in Europe or on an international scale, because so many interesting things have taken place here in different movements and things like that. So then to be asked to come in and think about a vision and an idea for Brighton Festival this year just feels so humbling, to be invited to make a tiny little mark on the whole story of this city. The slogan for this year's festival, not that the festival needs to have a slogan, but we've come up with the slogan "Gather Round," and it's a phrase that I came up with whilst working with Sophia Niazi, who's the visual artist who's designed the front cover of the brochure and the logo that's going to go with this year's festival. And you know, we were talking about ideas of community and coming together and experiencing things as a collective. And she came up with this beautiful image that she actually weaved as a tapestry of like a melting pot or a cooking pot, and how that is a symbol of something that attracts people and brings people together. And then we felt that the phrase "gather round" was a really nice way of summing up the kind of ethos behind the festival, not just this year when I'm curating it, but I feel like it's the ethos of Brighton Festival more generally as well.
Brighton Festival, like the city it reflects, is always wide-ranging and eclectic. And every year the appointment of a guest director creates a unique lens through which to experience the festival programme. One person's take on the world, around whom a myriad of ideas is organised. The festival has built an enviable family of artists since 2009, from Anish Kapoor to Laurie Anderson, Ali Smith to Lem Sisse, Brian Eno to Kay Tempest. Our guest directors reflect Brighton Festival's and our city's spirit of openness and inquiry. They help us consolidate the festival's reputation as a crucible of ideas, artistic, political, philosophical, ethical, creating a space where art can illuminate and comment upon the complexities of our world. All make their mark on this festival and this city, and they leave a legacy of connections that enriches us all. Nabihah's gift for collaboration has been evident from the moment we began working on this festival. Artists from all disciplines and all genres have jumped at her invitations to join us this year. Nabihah will present her latest shape-shifting musical project, Suror, with Raheel Khan, Paul Purgus and Imran Peretta. She responds to Invisible Flock's mesmerising immersive sound installation, The Sleeping Tree, and celebrates UK bass culture with DJs Abashanti and Dennis Bovell. As well as performing, Nabihah will be in conversation with inspiring artists and thinkers across the programme, including exploring the history of Brighton and East Sussex with historian David Olusoga, and a joyful evening of music and discussion with BBC broadcaster Anita Rani. Here's Nabihah discussing some other highlights of this year's festival programme with the Brighton-based artists making them.
I'm here with Jada Tank, who is a Brighton local. She's someone who's collaborated with Brighton Festival before, and she's working on a very special show to present at this year's festival. And what are your hopes with this new piece that you're going to present at the festival? Like, what do you want the dancers and the audience to be able to take away from it?
I just want this one to be a real celebration. I think my last few subject matters have been a little bit deeper, and for this piece I want it to just be a really aesthetically driven dance piece. It's quite athletic, it's going to be quite a visual piece, and I think I don't want to feed the audience too much of a narrative, and just hopefully it's something that everyone from all different walks of life can enjoy. It's definitely not, I want it to be accessible, and it's definitely not just for dance specific audiences.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sound side of it, the musical side?
Yeah, so I work with a composer who I've worked with on my last few pieces, and we kind of always work collaboratively in that I'm constantly sending him influence of traditional songs I like, of Turkish instruments, and then we also, same like with the choreography, kind of modernise it, and he has his input, and we kind of come to this mutual place where you've got the contemporary with the traditional influence.
Yeah, can't wait to hear that, because I know we were speaking a bit earlier about the ney and some other Turkish instruments being incorporated into the soundtrack. So for me as a musician, I'm really excited by that side of things too. Yeah. But yeah, good luck with it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm now joined by Emma Frankland, who's a director, and she'll be contributing to this year's Brighton Festival with a huge theatre project that she's been working on for the last 7 years. Emma, thanks so much for coming in to chat about it.
Hi.
And I feel like there's loads you can tell us about your project working on John Lilly's play Galatea.
What's really exciting is that whereas Shakespeare's plays often aren't very representative of everybody, you know, I think people we like to pretend they are, but really they're not. That there's something about the work of John Lilly, and particularly this play Galatea, that it's very queer, it's very inclusive, it has a very feminist storyline are things that aren't always represented in Shakespeare. In Shakespeare, if there's queerness, it often ends in a heteronormative marriage. In Galatea, we have queerness and it is celebrated, not resolved. And so I think it's really exciting because a lot of things that we're told are very modern inventions, like transness, like gender nonconformity. We know that these things are very ancient, but we don't often have proof of that. And Galatea is a real hard proof that here, 500 years ago in England, there was a playwright writing plays about trans and queer people. And so to re-perform that play now, particularly in this current climate, feels really important. And the fact that it hasn't been performed in almost 500 years says a lot about what has happened since then.
It's almost like a piece of history that you're bringing to life, really, with this production, but then something that's historical but feels really current at the same time.
Absolutely, and I think it really speaks to the current time that we're in. It's a play about acceptance. It's a play about learning how to love people who are different to yourself. I think of it as a curse play. It's a play about a town that has been cursed, and the curse that has been placed on them is that they have forgotten how to love and how to be accepting of other people. So I think, it's a really important play for now.
And you're not even performing it inside a conventional theatre, right?
No, it felt really important. Like, I want the audience to feel as comfortable accessing this play as they would a Shakespeare. Like, we're used to kind of Shakespeare in the Park, whatever, Midsummer Night's Dream, I'm going to bring a picnic, we're going to sit outside, it's going to be lovely, bring the family. And I think that there was something about wanting this to have that same feeling. It's set at the time of a county fair, and so the play is going to have the feel of a county fair. I want to bring as wide an audience to this production as possible, not just an audience who are interested in specifically theatrical history or specifically in one thing.
Other highlights in this year's programme include the UK premiere of Groundswell, a free, large-scale, immersive installation by award-winning Australian artist Matthias Schack-Arnott, who fuses sound and movement into an evocative, atmospheric experience. Groundswell is presented in partnership with Brighton Fringe and made possible by our principal supporter, the Pebble Trust, whose annual support of Brighton Festival's major productions and installations offers audiences innovative and unique ways of seeing and experiencing our wonderful city. As you heard earlier, Emma Frankland, in collaboration with Wildworks and Marlborough Productions, will stage the world premiere of a new production of John Lilly's Galatea, the inspiration behind Shakespeare's comedies from As You Like It to A Midsummer Night's Dream. First performed over 400 years ago, this tale of love, joy, and the importance of welcoming outsiders will be performed in spoken English and British Sign Language and staged outdoors in Shoreham-on-Sea. Actor Russell Tovey and poet Joel Taylor appear in Blue Now, a special mixed media performance of Derek Jarman's last film, Blue, directed by Neil Bartlett with a new live score by Simon Fisher-Turner. And Van Gogh Alive, an innovative, immersive exploration of the life and works of Vincent van Gogh, will reopen Brighton Dome's historic Corn Exchange and Studio Theatre following a major refurbishment. This year's music programme spans a huge range of artists, with Nabihah celebrating all musical forms and inviting genre-defying artists equally at home in classical repertoire and experimental performance. We welcome sitar legend Anushka Shankar, host a celebration of timeless breakbeat with Goldie, Mercury Prize winner Talvin Singh, and a Brighton Festival exclusive from vocalist-composer Bishi and the Trans Voices Choir. A weekend celebrating folk music called Different Folks will be led by the legendary Shirley Collins and Martin and Eliza Carthy, alongside psychedelic folk duo Stick in the Wheel and multi-instrumentalists Laura Groves and Angeline Morrison. Elsewhere, musician and actor Nadine Shah collaborates with writer Jackie Thompson on a theatrical story of chaos and recovery, To Be a Young Man. Francois Xavier Roth conducts the LSO with the dazzling virtuoso Yuja Wang at the piano. Actors Rory Kinnear and Pandora Collin join singers Mark Padmore and Roderick Williams and pianist Julius Drake for a programme of words and music inspired by Shakespeare's Seven Ages of Man. And the Takash Quartet make a welcome return to the festival, performing at Glyndebourne. The events of the past 2 years posed significant challenges for many across the arts and culture sectors, including ourselves. Brighton Festival's economic impact and ambitious scale remain intact, thanks in particular to the steadfast support of our funders, Brighton and Hove City Council and Arts Council England. Our principal supporter, the Pebble Trust, our major sponsors, Moda Living and Mayo Wynne Baxter, higher education partner, University of Sussex, and all our supporters, donors, patrons and members. We are also enormously grateful for support from international partners and governments, now that international touring is possible again, particularly that from Culture Ireland and the Australian Council for the Arts. This year's festival maintains its reach across the region. As a weekend without walls, the free programme of outdoor performances continues to push the boundaries of dynamic, thought-provoking work in public spaces, both in Brighton and Hove and in Crawley. We've a return for Brighton and East Sussex Youth Orchestra, involving young people from right across the county and benefiting from coaching and side-by-side experience with London Symphony Orchestra. They celebrate the growing ambition of our music education hub, Create Music. Theatrical highlights this year will see the National Theatre of Scotland returning, with Isabel MacArthur and Michael John McCarthy's swashbuckling rom-com Kidnapped, based on the Robert Louis Stevenson classic. We'll host the UK premiere of French-Norwegian puppetry masters Plexus Polair's Moby Dick, Irish theatre maker Broken Talker's smash hit, hilarious and excoriating masterclass, and Connor Mitchell and the Belfast Ensemble's critically acclaimed form-bending production of Abomination, a DUP opera. Our contemporary dance and circus programme includes the world premiere of Kislar from Brighton-based choreographer Jada Tank, Australia's Gravity and Other Myths bringing Out of Chaos, an explosive acrobatic performance referencing birth, death and primordial physics, and Akash Odedra's moving and humorous dance portrait of dyslexia, Little Murmur. An exciting partnership with Southeast Dance, celebrating Brighton's own The Dance Space, includes a range of work, from new commission Queer Collision by dance maker Stuart Waters, to contemporary Korean dance, to dance events for children and young people. Brighton Festival is not only a gathering of artists and audiences, it's a coming together of artistic and community organisations, venues and freelance creative workers, making May an explosion of culture and creativity. We exist in a complex and rich ecology, one which has endured the existential challenges of the pandemic and the no less challenging economic environment and changes to public funding. We want to thank all our programming partners and those who work alongside the festival for their ingenuity and resilience, and especially our community partners in Moulscombe and Bevendine, in Hangleton and Knowle, and in East Brighton, for their continued belief in the power of culture to connect and inspire us. I know you'll be keen to discover the programme yourselves via the press pack coming your way after this presentation, so I'll leave you now with a short film featuring highlights from this year's programme. I want to say a very big thank you to all the artists, partners and our wonderful team for making this festival possible, and we look forward to welcoming you back to Brighton in May.
Hi, I'm Nabihah Iqbal and I'm really happy to welcome you all to Brighton Festival 2023.
Dreamers keep on dreaming.